Don't wanna show off no more. I don't wanna sing tunes no more. I don't wanna ride moves no more. I don't wanna show off. I don't wanna wear this no more. Play the songs and just miss no more. Blow my signature no more. I don't wanna show off. Don't try to convince me. I've made up my mind. And that's it. I quit. I'm leaving it all behind. I don't wanna be cute no more. Make the gentleman move no more. I don't wanna wear fruit no more. I don't wanna show off. Not me. Page 3. Gee, I don't wanna show off. I don't wanna show off. Please, no more attention. I'm counting to 10. And I'm through. Adieu. You'll never see this. You'll never see this. Never see this. Never see that. Never see these again. I don't wanna change keys no more. I don't wanna striptease no more. I don't wanna say cheese no more. I don't care if you stop. I don't wanna be cheered no more. Praise no more. Grab no more. Touch no more. Love no more. I don't wanna show off. I don't wanna show off. I don't wanna show off. I don't wanna show no more.
Next, we'll do the song "As We Stumble Along" by the title character, the driving chaperone, played by Michaela.
Really, you're not being the least bit helpful. Couldn't you at least allay my fears with a few choice words of inspiration?
Inspiration, really, dear? That's not my forte.
Yes, but if you...
As we stumble along on life's funny journey, as we stumble along into the gloom, we look here and we look there, seeking answers anywhere, never sure of where to turn or what to do. Still we bumble our way through life's crazy labyrinth, barely knowing left from right or right from wrong. And the best that we can do is hope a bluebird will sing his song as we stumble along.
That was quite nice, chaperone, but I don't see how it pertains to my situation.
Let me explain.
No, really, that's not necessary. I suppose I'm looking for more sympathetic...
In some dismal little world in which we live, it can bore you till you've nothing left to give. you mustn't let it lick you. This planet oh so bland. Keep your eyeball on the highball in your head. As we stumble along, cross life's crowded dance floor. As we push and we shove, we live and we learn. And when we finally leave the bar, and we see that morning star, we pull our bootstraps up and home return. Then we stumble away through dawn's blinding sunbeam, barely knowing right from right, nor left from wrong. But as long as we can hear that little bluebird, there'll be a song as we stumble along, as we stumble, bumble, fumble, plumble, as we stumble along.
And now for something totally different, we're going to close out with a short song called Aldolfo, performed by Aldolfo, as performed by Matt Turnipseed.
I'm sure that you have heard the name Aldolfo, a lady man who wins acclaim Aldolfo. Well, lovely miss, I am the same Aldolfo. I introduce myself, I am Aldolfo.
Nice to meet you, shall we?
Not so fast, so just in case you didn't hear Aldolfo, I'll try to make it very clear, Aldolfo. The lovely ladies always cheer Aldolfo. When I repeat myself, I am Aldolfo.
Understood.
I can sing it high, Aldolfo. I can sing it low, Aldolfo. I could sing it very fast, Aldolfo. I can sing it very slowly. I do it now, but it would take hours. Now let's see if you can remember my name.
I'll give it a shot.
Now who's the fella that you see?
Aldolfo,
And how should you refer to me?
Aldolfo,
And who is it I'll always be?
Aldolfo.
Now sing it proudly.
You are Aldolfo.
Thank you again for having us, and if you'd like to see more, November 9th, 10th, and 11th at the PAC.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for
Thank
being
you.
here this evening. We appreciate it.
Nice job.
Yeah, wonderful job.
Also, just to shout out our students, they came from rehearsal, they did this, and now they're headed to the marching showcase. Otherwise, we'd love to stick around.
Thank you for being here.
Nice job.
All right, it is now 6:03, and we are out of closed executive session. At this time, we will reconvene the regular meeting of the Board of Education with the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brenner.
Here.
Mr. Booker. Mr. Herrera.
Here?
Mrs. Hout.
Here.
Ms. Mayville. Mrs. Whitcomb. Here. Mr. Zickert.
All Are there any items on the agenda any members of the board would like to amend or move? Hearing none, do I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda of the regular meeting of the Board of Education on October 16th, 2023 as presented?
So moved. Second.
Member Hauk made a motion and Member Herrera seconded the motion to approve the agenda of the regular meeting of the Board of Education on October 16th, 2023 as presented. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mrs. Brunner.
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. At this time, we would like to celebrate our schools and individuals within the district. College Board AP Scholars for Belvedere and Belvedere North High Schools. Advanced placement or AP testing took place in the first 2 weeks of May, and student scores were released in July. The board would like to recognize the students listed in board docs from Belvedere and Belvedere North Highs recognized by College Board as 2023 AP Scholars of various levels for a job well done. If we can give those students a round of applause at this time. Next, in our celebrations, we would like to recognize board member Holly Hauk has been recognized by the Illinois Association of School Boards, IASB, for her participation in a number of professional development and leadership activities during her service as a school board member. IASB recognizes the school board members who show a dedication and desire to learn more about local governance, adding to their leadership skills, knowledge of state and national educational issues, and commitment in serving and trust of their community and their students. Because of Mrs. Hauk's ongoing commitment to continued learning and participation in leadership activities, she has earned the designation as IASB Established Board Leader. Professional development opportunities leading to this award included the following: new board member training, division meetings, statewide or regional member workshops, voting delegate and delegate assembly, and the joint annual conference in Chicago. IASB initiated the Board Leader Recognition Program both to honor the dedicated work of school board members and call public attention to the many responsibilities placed on local school boards. Please join me in recognition to Holly Hauk at this time for being recognized as the board leader. All right, at this time, we additionally would like to recognize staff within our district that have been nominated from their peers for going above and beyond in relation to District 100 values. When you hear your name called, if you would come forward, and Dr. Shug will read a bit of why you were recognized by someone that you worked with. And we'll have you just stand in the front, and then Miss Janine will take your picture after at the end.
All right, Renee Endres from Everest High School. Oh, well, we will still read about Renee. Renee is an amazing coworker who has made working here at Everest a treat. We co-plan almost all of our lessons to bring effective connections between science and math. Her ability to bring relevant material to her students while with my science curriculum is phenomenal. I have to admit that through working with Renee, I have learned a lot more of how math and science can be integrated and reinforced through collaborative learning. I can't say enough about how much I love working at Everest with such a highly qualified co-teacher, submitted by James Hotchkiss. Stephanie Myers, Central High School. Come on up. Don't be shy. Stephanie works in all of our buildings as our only hearing impairment itinerant. She is always professional with her communication with our families and building teams. She understands her role and is always educating others on how best to support our students with hearing concerns. She is an excellent example of someone that goes above and beyond. We are very fortunate that she is on our team, submitted by Teresa Montalbano Owen. Jim Ivasic is not able to be here. He is from South Middle School, and he is an excellent and committed teacher who does not always receive the recognition and celebration he truly deserves. He is one of the most committed and hardworking teachers in our building. He frequently stays late, accommodates students' needs, and acts above and beyond in his collaboration and his professionalism with his coworkers, co-teachers, and staff members. His work ethic is second to none, and his friendly demeanor makes him extremely easy to work with. All the students know him and respect him. He is a huge asset to the school and the community who has been under the radar for too long. No longer. Thank you to Jim. Michelle Benitez. She is at Meehan Elementary School. Michelle is great to work with. She knows the answer to almost all special ed related questions, and if she doesn't, she will find the answer or direct you to someone who will know. She is fantastic at her job, and I greatly appreciate that she completes our SPED evaluations and does an amazing job with them. Also, she's great at giving feedback on your work and constantly provides compliments and suggestions for work well done in areas for improvement. Submitted by Caitlin Stern. Julie Flynn. Meehan Elementary School. Julie is very responsive to student needs. When needed, she responds quickly to situations and does a wonderful job de-escalating students. She is also very aware of all the different factors affecting students at school, and she is able to provide numerous suggestions to help combat challenges. She is also a great resource for teachers to learn strategies that they can implement in their own practice. Submitted by Caitlin Stern. Jody Brown, also at Meehan Elementary School, was not able to join us. Jody is a fantastic nurse who is able to answer all health-related questions for students and adults. She has a lot of great knowledge to help her provide the best care to everyone in the building, and she is a very kind and great listener. Megan Propp, also at Meehan Elementary School. It's a big night for Meehan here. Megan goes above and beyond with the students. I love how she has the students see and discuss their individual academic goals and celebrates their achievements. She also meets her students where they are and has great interventions for me to carry out with my groups. Submitted by Jessica Badeau. And we have Megan Propp again. She is an excellent teacher and she is great to collaborate with. She provides me with all of the relevant information I need to be able to best support my students in her class. She also has an excellent handle on the content she teaches and ways to support students to help them make progress and achieve success, not only academically, but also social and emotionally. Nicole Onken from Meehan Elementary. Nicole is wonderful at being flexible and handling whatever is thrown her way. She's had a lot on her plate this past year, and she has done a fantastic job managing it all. She has also a lot of really great ideas and strategies that are beneficial not only to our special education team, but to the entire staff. Thank you, Nicole. Jennifer Shepard. At Meehan Elementary. Jenny is great at collaborating with other teachers to find solutions that are in the best interest of students and provides instruction that meets the needs of all learners. She has a multitude of great resources and strategies. She's a wonderful problem solver, and she has lots of great ideas to tackle the problems in front of her. Thank you, Jenny. And finally, Pam Fowler. Pam is from Meehan Elementary. She is a fantastic paraprofessional. She is kind, patient, and understanding, even with the most challenging students. She will try many different strategies, and she gives students various options to solve problems. She collaborates well with teachers and works well as part of a team. Pam shows up day after day, ready to give her best. Thank you, Pam. Congratulations to all of our wonderful staff being recognized here tonight by their colleagues.
Are we done?
All right, at this time, if there are any board members who would like to share a positive event or activity or another item they've heard or seen within District 100 since our last meeting, feel free to do so at this time.
I have a shout out. I know when we were on business service the last few years, we talked about bringing our substitutes back in-house instead of using Kelly. And one of our big things was we wanted it more personal. We wanted it, the sub to feel very welcome and that they would want to come back. So talked to a first-time sub, first day ever in the district. She was at Caledonia Elementary and she had a fabulous day. Office professional was so welcoming. The teacher's room, the staff that came in were helping. So I just thought that was awesome to hear because we talked about it for so long and it was just nice to hear that, it's happening out there.
Thanks, Holly. Any others that anybody would like to share?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I do want to highlight, and I have it in my Business Services Committee minutes, but there were some shout outs there provided from Colleen Griffith to Tyler Bell for his technical expertise and how welcomed he's been coming back, and they appreciate his again technical expertise. Also, she also gave a shout out to Sean Winters and his team for the work that they're doing, the mini work that they're doing around grounds and buildings and everything that we see coming through business services and the improvements that we see around our school buildings and our property here at District 100. So I also want to give a shout out to Renee Mondahano, who's in our bilingual director. Renee has done a great job. I've seen this firsthand and talked to other administrators, hiring and filling positions for our bilingual positions, hard to fill positions. And he's been able to successfully hire teachers from outside of the country, at least 10 or more. And that is a very difficult, time-consuming job to do. He does it so well that I believe some of our area school districts, one very large, can recognize he's very far ahead on his recruitment efforts than they are. So I do want to shout out to Renee on that. I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Shug, and that is, had heard some great feedback from community college president recently, and recognized her leadership and how lucky we are to have her here in District 100. So shout out to you, Dr. Shug, and that's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Herrera. Anybody else? I'd like to give a brief shout out in relation to our bus drivers, although they're not through our school district in relation to First Student. They have such an important job and they make sure our kids get to school safe, and they're dealing with all things and behaviors and who lost a jacket while they're trying to drive. So I really do appreciate the work that they do, and I think they've done a great job this year in informing families. I've heard and also witnessed firsthand in relation to any route changes, so I'd like to give them a celebration this month for sure. All right, next is our student council reports, and first up we have Riley from Belvedere High School.
Washington Academy has been actively celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with students. We organized various events and activities to honor and educate students about Hispanic culture and contributions. One notable event was the annual Hispanic Heritage Family Event, which saw an impressive turnout of over 300 attendees. Additionally, all classrooms at Washington Academy have successfully established their routines and expectations during the first 20 days of the school year, ensuring a conducive learning environment for our students. At South Middle School, we have had an excellent start to the year. Our attendance is up 1% from last year at this time to 95.4%. Here are some other happenings at South Middle School this month. Students completed their fall MAP assessment, and student changes were processed into intervention or extension as suggested by the new data. We're looking forward to seeing our students' progress in the winter. Our 8th grade volleyball team took second place in the NCJC tournament, and we qualified 3 cross-country runners for the IESA state meet on October 14th. We also had one state qualifier for the IESA State Golf Championship, placing 17th. Way to go, Bucks. Parent-teacher conferences are scheduled for November, so we are looking forward to seeing many of our parents and guardians on November 9th and 20th. Belvedere High School celebrated Homecoming 2023 the week of September 25th through the 30th. Our theme was Once Upon a Time and included dress-up days, locker bay decorations, a door decorating contest, the annual parade, pep assembly, and the crowning of homecoming royalty. Both JV and varsity football won against Jefferson that Friday evening as well. The first week of October, we celebrated National Custodians Day and World Teachers Day. On October 10th, we celebrated Freshman Appreciation Day, where they had a special assembly. The assembly included a rock, paper, scissors contest against Buck Club representatives. Congrats to Mr. Costable's class for winning. A distribution of t-shirts and the signing of the Commitment to Graduate banner. At lunch, freshman students redeemed the tickets they received at the assembly for cookies and had a chance to win additional raffle prizes. Go Bucks!
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming to read those. All right, next we have some updates also from Belvedere North High School, and I'd like to invite Rhea forward to read those at this time.
Hi, good evening, you guys. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. So this is my October board report from Lincoln. Here's what is happening. They had their family game night on October 5th, where families were able to play reading and math games and bingo as a family. They have a MIC teacher night on the 12th, and they'll have an opera come in for the young, made possible by the foundation grant on October 24th. BNHS Coraliers will be here for the annual Red Ribbon Tour on October 27th, and fall classroom parties and celebrations will take place on October 31st in the afternoon. They have been practicing fire drills and will have the fire department in to conduct a drill with them, as well as bring the smokehouse and fire safety program to our second grade classes. From Seth Whitman Elementary. Seth Whitman has been very busy this month, and here are just some of the highlights. Fourth grade classrooms went on a visit to the Boone County Conservation District to learn about Pioneer Days. Second graders participated in the fire department smokehouse and learned about fire safety. They held their parent-teacher conferences on October 5th and 12th, along with our fall book fair. Our PTO hosted our annual Race for Education. Fifth grade students participated in the Fine Arts Festival, and second graders also participated in AG in the classroom. At Caledonia, they've had their fun run at the end of September and made over $12,000 for our PTO. The kids had a blast. The top 5 earners will be taking a limo to lunch at the end of the month with Miss Cotter. Students are starting to go on some field trips and are loving it. And we will conclude the month with trunk or treat, Halloween celebrations, and an opera for the young assembly. From Belvedere Central Middle School. Central Middle School is celebrating the end to the great fall sports season and a good start to our next season of winter sports. During homecoming week for Belvedere North High School, our students and staff also participated in some themed dress-up days, and we are looking forward to Popcorn Day and our first incentive this month. During the week of October 23rd through the 27th, Central Middle School will also be acknowledging Red Ribbon Week, and our Student Services team has been working with the Boone County Drug Coalition to plan some fun theme days and activities to help our kids be kind to their mind and learn to live drug-free. From Belvedere North High School, we have had a great last month at Belvedere North that included our homecoming week and dance that took place back to the 70s. Our fall play, Too Much Light, happened over the weekend after months of preparation, which was amazing. So you guys should definitely come to the spring ones. And we have had celebrated numerous senior nights and accomplishments from College Board for AP and PSAT honors. Dylan Abu made it to state for boys golf, and finally we have seen a 50% decrease in total referrals from the last school year through October 1st. Our students are doing a lot of great things. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for your reports. You're welcome to stay, but you can also excuse yourself at this time. Have a great night. You do the same. Thank you. At this time, members of the public and employees of District 100 may make public comments. As a reminder, any person appearing before the board is expected to address the board only at the appropriate time as indicated on the agenda and follow the directives of the board president to maintain order and decorum. Identify oneself, limit comments to 3 minutes, conduct oneself with respect and civility towards others, and otherwise abide by board policy 8:30, visitors to and conduct on school property. If anybody has any comments at this time, you may come forward. Hearing none, now we will have our Board of Education Committee reports. Business Services Committee meeting was October 3rd. Mr. Herrera, do you have anything you'd like to add or highlight in the Business Services Committee report?
No. If you have any questions, let me know, but pretty straightforward, and some of it's already on the consent agenda.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Herrera regarding Business Services?
I think just a general comment about, there are several things that are coming out of business services that are coming to consent rather than roll call, which again, if that's a change that, as we're going to go forward. I see that the recommendation was to move different things forward. I guess I would just ask if there could be more detail in the minutes then, if there's, there must have been, I'm guessing, a robust discussion, conversation, ideas exchanged, information that came up throughout the course of the meeting on some of these things that would have been helpful to me as a board member who's going to say, okay, so now they're going to be, we can always call them out, which I will on a couple of things. But if they're going to be on the consent agenda, they're going to be with a number of other things at one time. So I would look to the committee notes to be the place where I would see the detail about the discussion that went on that would have led to moving it forward, rather than just, a line or two and moving it forward. So that's just, that I would find that helpful as a board member for those items that are going to be on the consent agenda that are budgetarily related.
I'd express my concern, not the last meeting, but the meeting before, not at the meeting, but after the meeting, that when I went to the meeting, I came there late, and it was one, Mr. Herrera wasn't there, Mr. Bucher showed up late, I showed up late, after Mr. Bucher even, but not super late, but late enough, is that stuff may come out of there and go on the consent agenda when there was absolutely no board participation for some of it. Some of it there was, but some there might not have been. So I just think it's kind of, I don't know, I just get nervous about that, I guess, so that was just my opinion.
Lisa, to your point about the agenda, Matt and I are taking it to policy, as we talked about at a prior meeting. So we have developed like a common template that we're going to run through policy committee to get their feedback in relation to a standard way that we're doing notes. So they'll look at that when we have our next meeting. And the hope of it is exactly that, so we can have some feedback in a common fashion, so when people are reading it, we have an understanding of what took place and or what should be coming forward. So the committee's been really good, and Matt could tell me otherwise, but I feel like they've done a really good job with asking questions and giving us feedback in relation to the topics thus far that have been brought forward.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Educational Services Committee meeting was October 4th. Mrs. Haupt, do you have anything you'd like to add or highlight to the Educational Services Committee report?
Nope, I think Carla did a good job with the notes, and we were all there, so it was all good.
Anybody have a question for Mrs. Haupt regarding Educational Services Committee?
I just can't resist this one, because I got beat up on it pretty good a year ago, is that the Student Voices now is a new club, and we've had that since 2019. Now it's all of a sudden a new club. I'm just curious how that happened. They've been meeting for like 4 years. Well, maybe not during COVID, but before COVID and after COVID.
It's possible it didn't meet for a while, and then now it's meeting again. That happens sometimes with some of the clubs.
It officially was a club all that time, was it not?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
The principals were all to submit the new clubs, and that was listed as one of the new clubs, and so I can only assume that maybe it didn't run for a couple of years, and then they brought it back.
So like if they didn't have an advisor or something, then it might not run and
be.
or.
Well, they had the same advisor. I think it just didn't run like any other one didn't run with COVID.
Oh,
But it's fine.
other questions in relation to ed services?
Well, I guess and maybe
Excuse me.
The STAR autism support curriculum. So we already purchased the materials, so the only thing we're voting on tonight is an additional person. And the person, a coach, I understand that, but is what isn't funded by the grant? The materials were funded by the grant?
Do you want to speak?
All of it would be funded by the grant. It was just the addition of the coaching took the threshold over the $24,000. Coaching is also not required, but that would give us the best fidelity of running the curriculum.
So there is no district expense?
It's
all
all
coming out of
grant
the-
funded. It is all
Out of the
grant funded.
idea grant, yes.
Okay, but okay, I'll wait. I'll wait to ask the question. Okay.
The following policies were brought forward from Policy and Personnel Committee for first reading that are in the agenda tonight. 3:50, administrative personnel other than the superintendent. 5:30, hiring process and criteria. 7:40, non-public school students, including parochial and homeschool students. 7:140, search and seizure, and 8:90, organizations and booster clubs. Mr. Zicker, any updates in relation to the last meeting to bring forward?
No, I think that they're all pretty straightforward. I think that everybody ought to decide how they look at it and how the process has evolved on some of them. I mean, I think that, I don't want to voice my opinion on that again, so because that's not part of my report. That's not a report thing. So I think I think everybody should read the policies and look at the circumstances, how they evolved, and make up their mind however they want to make up their mind.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Zicker in relation to the policies that are brought forward for first reading?
They'll be on roll call next month.
They'll be brought back in November for final approval. Okay. Next on the agenda are consent agenda items. Are there any items on the consent agenda any members of the board would like to take out for separate consideration?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 5, collection efforts.
Okay.
Number 12, the STAR autism support curriculum.
Okay.
Number 14, the HVAC, and number 15, almost said snowmobile bid, snow removal bid.
Okay, so number 5, number 12, number 14, number 15, correct?
Right.
Okay. I hate how this donation part is here, I'm sorry. At this time, I would like to acknowledge the following donation. No. I know, but why is this here? Sorry, okay. Do I have a motion and a second to approve all consent agenda items not requested to be pulled, which were number 5, number 12, number 14, and number 15?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion, and Member Hauk seconded the motion to approve all consent agenda items that were not requested to be pulled as presented, such as 5, 12, 14, and 15. At this time, I would like to acknowledge the following donation: 1 yard of river rocks from the Balak family, gardening tools and gloves from Copper McNames, 10 foot of green posts from K.B. Crane, and butterfly plants from the Keel and Nicholas families, 7 bags of mushroom compost, and 25 feet of chicken wire fence, sand, and butterfly plants from the Medeiros family. Rocks and saucers for puddlers and gardening gloves from Nikos Belvedere, butterfly plants and seeds from the Roberts family, butterfly plant seeds from Save Our Monarchs, and 4x50 chicken wire fencing from Tominson's Ace Hardware for Washington Academy for a butterfly garden. Also, $500 donation from Belvedere Lodge for Belvedere North High School Scholastic Bowl Quiz Academy. We thank our community partners for those donations. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Sorry. Do I have a motion and a second to approve all consent agenda items that were not requested to be pulled, again as presented, 5, 12, 14, and 15? And so Member Herrera made the motion, Member Hauk seconded the motion. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed, 5-0. Do Do I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda item number 5, collection efforts as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Member, was that you, Lisa? I'm sorry. Member Wickham made a motion and Member Herrera seconded the motion to approve consent agenda item number 5, collection efforts as presented. Any discussion?
Yeah, so I'm sure like all of us, it's an appalling number. And there's little we can do to control much of it. I understand there's legislation and there's rules and there's all sorts of things. I would like to better understand, I get that we're going, this is to propose the utilization of collection services for the things that we can, 2 years old or new, right? Has there, or perhaps was there, at Business Services, discussion about the process in general going forward so we don't find ourselves with $1 million of receivable collectibles to the greatest extent we can avoid it? Understanding right off the bat, you take out 206 of that, right, or almost 207,000. You can't, do anything about because it's meal related. Do we have a process whereby we take a more critical look at the actual accrual of fees? Are there things we should be eliminating? I mean, are there things we're charging for that we should say, look, I'm asking, maybe this was discussed at Business Services and I just missed it, or when will that be discussed if it wasn't? Go ahead, Joanne.
So we have had many conversations about this, and from the amount that we had proposed in those missing funds are those things that we can provide concrete that they've received. They're the registration fees. They're not like a lost book or anything of that nature. What we have done to move forward and try to be more proactive in collecting our fees is we are starting to send out monthly reminders. Pushcoin usually would notify families that they have an outstanding balance in their wallet or their fees, wallet or their lunch and meal costs. And the wallet is the lunch and fees. Then you have the other component that is their registration fees. Those two are in Pushcoin housed separately. What we are now doing is, in addition to that Pushcoin notification that they have to log in and create that Pushcoin account, is that we are through Parent Squares uploading a spreadsheet, and it is sending a text message to those families. So even if they're not having email or going into Pushcoin, we're sending out those reminders that you have an outstanding balance. What was happening in the past is we're continuing to accrue until they became seniors, and then seniors were faced with this: you have to pay this amount of money to be able to participate in graduation. Now, you would not keep them from receiving their transcripts or actually graduating, but you could take away the ability to walk in the ceremony. We're not doing that. That is not something that the district has been doing, and we are not able to continue that practice. That if a district was doing that, they're not able to continue that practice. Really, what we are doing is just trying to be more proactive, processing those fee waivers, encouraging people to fill out the request for fee waivers. We're directly certifying any employees through the state report, and when they are directly certified through meals, they're automatically certified for our fee waivers as well. So we're waiving those fees for families that have already been determined to be eligible. So those are kind of some of the processes we're taking in place. We have not gone any further. We did take away the separate technology fees. Those are not being charged anymore. It's part of registration. We didn't just increase those amounts. But there hasn't been a whole lot of other conversation at this point about what we want to remove or reduce going forward. As we are, every year we look at the student fees and what we're charging for those fees, and those are reviewed and approved by the board usually in the fall.
Just as a point of clarification, in case parents watch this, I had to deal with this all the time back in the day, as recently as 5 or 6 years ago. By Illinois school code, you can't deny a kid graduation, and you can't deny they walk, you can't deny they go to the ceremony, you can't deny any of that. What you can do is you can deny them their official transcript to send out, and you can deny, and you can turn them over to a collection agency. outside of that, there's nothing else we can do. And I used to have vivid discussions with many people over the years to that extent that we tended to do it anyway back in the day, that legally we never could. We were just lucky nobody called us on it. But I think it's just important to know that. I think the other part is where I could see us helping is from somebody who had to deal with middle school collections and grade school connections and when they're seniors and it's a month before graduation and trying to get every penny I could, from those because they were worried they weren't going to be able to, walk or do whatever, is that if we did it yearly, it would be very helpful. I know we may send a note out maybe at the end of their every year, but really it's kind of a meaningless thing probably to the parent, especially when there's no substantive thing that happens the year after. And you're absolutely right, the amounts do accrue. And by that time, by the senior year, what they did in 7th grade, nobody has really any substantive recollection of anyway. So I think that's something that we really want to do that. We need to really do that and let people know we're serious about doing that if that's what we want to do, if that is the case.
And that was a lot of the discussion as well, is that we wouldn't turn this on tomorrow and say, okay, we're sending everybody over to collections. There would be a communication process. If this is approved by the board, we would spend from now until usually at least January was my minimum timeframe of communicating that out, that, we will offer payment plans, we will work with families. We are not asking you to fork over, $1,000 in some cases to pay your fees. We'll work with families on that. But we also don't want this to be a surprise, is that, these are fees that have been accrued at least 2 years or longer ago. And I did want to just clarify, the $206,000 for unpaid breakfast and lunch is in addition to that 1 million. So it is actually higher. That 1 million is just the
plus,
the
that's the word
fees.
there, plus, sorry.
Yeah.
So the 25,625, that is the fee to the collection agency, whether they collect anything or not.
Correct.
And that's for now through, like, how long is the?
That's a fee, and they will continue to do those collections on 2,500 accounts. That's what, that fee covers 2,500 individual accounts. So if you have a family of 4 and there's more than one student in that family, those would be 2 separate accounts. So it's each child's or student's account that is in there that will count as a count. And right now, we're just at 1920 something. And so we had the choice of 1,000 or 2,500. And so when we talked about it at committee, we didn't necessarily want to take 900 out of the equation. And the reality is that we're going to continue to probably have situations that we would be able to send additional people as they mature. So we have unlimited time on those 2,500 accounts until we use them all.
And how long, so they'll work on the collection of those 2,500 accounts in perpetuity until we tell them to stop? Or is that an every year charge for that?
No, it is not an every year. It's a one-time you're paying for these collection efforts for these.
And what is the information we've received that tells us how successful they have been? With what's their success rate in collecting?
So at committee, and I'm trying to see which document is attached here. This was the second time we had brought the item to committee to talk through, to get their perspective on it. And I apologize, it's not on this one. It was on the previous agenda item. They have a success rate of about 50%. So they're collecting about 50% of what we send to them.
And on that 2,500, of which right now we have, you say 1,900 or 1,950, whatever it is. What's the total indebtedness of those 1,900?
That's that 1,058,000.
Just those 2,500 accounts?
Yes.
Or, well, 1,900 accounts.
1,950.
Somewhat related, Joanne, do we have any indication yet in relation to like breakfast, lunch program, right? Because a lot of this is accrued from that. Do we know like next year if that will be looked at as far as like possibility for free? Because that's part of the problem here too, obviously, right? I mean,
Well, and the fees for registration are not tied to our lunch and meal program, except for those that are directly certified. And so what we will be doing is looking at the community eligibility program. That program analysis is done the 1st of April. And we'll look at our eligibility, and at that point, I will probably come to the board and ask for recommendations. There is a qualification standard of what percentages are. It also offers the opportunities to do specific schools if the district as a whole doesn't qualify. So there will be, many facets of that computation that we'll need to discuss to determine if that's the route we want to go as a district.
What percentage of what they collect do they take in, if any, in addition to the 25,000 that
They
they're?
do not take any
Okay, no
percentage of this, and everything that is paid on these will be paid directly to the district.
But if I'm understanding correctly, by school code and by, the collection agency has no enforceable consequences either, right? They're not, I mean, am I understanding that correctly? They're not gonna be able to, threaten's the wrong word, I'm sure that's not, assert. What is it they can assert in their language? And I'm not asserting that we should be using staff time to do this. I'm not saying that. But what is it they can say that we can't say that's going to potentially move the needle?
With collections, with going with the collections agency, they can, if the district were to pursue legal action, they can take this to claims court if they wanted to take legal action with those for those outstanding fees. That is not necessarily what we have asked them to move
Nor what
forward
is
with.
likely that we
Right.
would do.
No.
Right? So does it adversely affect their credit score, credit rating, based on the fact that it's in collections?
It could potentially in the long term, yes.
Is that a decision we'd have to make as the district to say that we wanted to pursue it to the degree? Or just the fact that it's listed as a bad debt, it would have an impact on?
It would have an impact if it remains uncollected, most likely for over a year after it's been turned over to collections. But again, that would be a conversation that we would have to have as a board in the district.
Whether or not we would do that, whether or not we would say proceed with having, yeah, okay. So for me, I'm gonna vote no, only because I don't wanna take staff time to do it, but I also feel like it's good money after bad, for me, so anyway.
Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
No.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed, 5-1. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda item number 12, STAR Autism Support Curriculum as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Whitcomb seconded the motion to approve consent agenda item number 12, STAR Autism Support Curriculum as presented. Discussion?
I just want to be sure I'm understanding. There's no outlay of cost from the district. So what exactly, we're just voting to approve the utilization of the grant dollars in this way?
Correct.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mrs. Hauk.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed, 6-0. Do I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda item number 14, HVAC van purchase as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Hauk seconded the motion to approve consent agenda item number 14, HVAC van purchase as presented. Discussion?
So first of all, I appreciate that it came back much richer in detail. We asked for that, it came back that way. I appreciate the fact that we have insurance cost and we have, warranty information, all kinds of good stuff in there, as well as the accounting for equipment and what have you. I appreciate very much that it came back with greater detail. I'm just making sure, so I guess I have a question. Do we want to be so narrow previously we wanted more information, now I'm asking the question. 38,713.26, right? That's not the van we're purchasing, as I understand it, based on what I've read, right? It's just a spec on a possible van. So what if the van we actually find is, 39,000? And not 38,713.26? Or, what if we find a van for cheaper than that? Obviously, we can spend less than we planned, but we can't spend more. And then, second question, we're not in any way in this approval saying are we saying we have to buy it from Coons? Or Coons, oh, sorry.
The motion can be amended to, we have a recommended action is what was provided at the committee based on what we had at that point. But you are absolutely correct in that it is very specific. So we would be looking at saying, okay, you can spend up to this amount.
Right.
If we could find the van somewhere else, that would be fantastic, and we could find it for cheaper, great. This is what we had as far as a proposal that we received as we wanted quotes. And so the recommendation, as we talked about it through the committee, was this is where we would try to purchase and not exceed that amount of money. But the recommended action could be amended to purchase a van not to exceed 39,000 or 40,000.
Got it,
That is
okay.
just suggested language based on what the committee reviewed.
I just feel like it's a little too narrow. If we get something that's, you're gonna have to come back to us, we can't get the purchase, we can't get the, it could be plus or minus. It'd love to be great if it's minus, and I really don't, so you're saying we're not tying ourselves, how do you say it?
Yeah.
Kunis?
I understood it.
Only?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, I was just gonna say, I understood it too, I think you just said, is to not go over that amount. But we can
Yeah.
obviously go under that amount.
Right, and that wouldn't matter. But if we found the right van and it was 39,000 out the door, we would exceed the approved amount of the board and therefore we'd have our hands tied a little bit. Because we're not buying the van as I'm understanding it. This was a spec estimate of a van that could potentially be XYZ and cost this much and have this much left on the mileage.
If the van was still available, we would purchase this van.
This
I don't
van is
know.
in current inventory?
This was inventory that Coons
Right,
could
so it
give us
has
a
a
quote
VIN
for.
number and everything.
And is still available?
I don't know.
Oh.
That's the issue and what we were trying to get around with the first one, and we came back with additional information
Yeah.
in doing that. As you said, not knowing how limited we wanted to be on this,
Sure,
we brought you the three quotes that we have. I do think that it's difficult when you're looking at used vehicles to give you that exact, but
Right.
trying to provide you the best estimate of what we're looking at and what we can do, that's what we were able to bring forward.
Okay.
So to,
Go ahead.
sorry,
I'm
no,
sorry. Go ahead.
to Ms. Whitcomb's point, so that we're not tying our hands, perhaps maybe we do amend the motion for an up to maybe 40,000.
Yeah, because you could
That-
find a $39,000.
Right, so that covers us in case, well, and perhaps, I can't remember, we're locked in, because this is specific to Kunis, correct?
Right, but that, as I said, that in the motion, if you're amending the motion to say up to 40,000, you can remove ProMaster Van and Coons right from there and say you can, where the recommended motion is the approval of a van for the HVAC position not to exceed $40,000. And that would then take away, it doesn't have to be a ProMaster van, it doesn't have to be from Coons,
Yeah.
but it cannot exceed $40,000.
Okay. I mean, I would be okay with that personally, I just don't want to see us ham-tied, and I also don't want to have us be locked into a particular dealer if, one down the road comes up with one for 35, or something, maybe someone else would.
I just feel strongly that we need to be looking, were all the quotes from within our community?
You want to speak to I'm sorry.
Two were from Belvedere, one was from Rockford.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see it in Rockford if we're gonna look at revising the approval to the not exceed 40,000. I'd like it to stay within our community. I think that's super important.
I wouldn't disagree with that necessarily. I just think the only problem is, back in the old days when Lincoln Ford was owned by Belvedere, when Henneberry was owned by Belvedere, when the Wolf brothers owned both Kunis places. It was different. They don't live in our community. I agree with you on it's nice for the community, but it is a little different than being part of the community, other than having a business here. They have businesses all over the place, which is fine. I mean, I think we ought to give Hamblock and honestly Kunis the benefit of the doubt because they are in the community. But if Blue Back Road has a better one for $5,000 cheaper, and they may not, I'm just making that up. It could be anybody. I'm not sure we should negate that just because.
I would agree with that. I mean, I think it's great if we could find it here and in town with all the right specs and all the right information. I think that's great, and I would concur that we stay as local as we can, as often as we can, especially if these are, locally living business owners. We'd like to be as supportive as we can, as hopefully they are to us, but I would not want the motion. I mean, I made the motion, so I think I would have to amend it. I wouldn't include in that it would have to be, I just think we got to get the best deal we can. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, so Lisa, are you amending the motion, or do you want me to amend it, or how do?
You made the
Okay,
motion.
okay, so I guess I'll make the motion to amend it.
Yes.
To up to 40,000 to purchase a utility van for the HVAC position.
Okay. So the amended motion, do I have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the utility van not to exceed the $40,000 threshold as presented?
I think, don't you have to vote first for the amendment, then vote on it?
Yeah, we have to vote on the
Correct,
amendment.
so we're voting for the amendment, that would be the not to exceed $40,000 for the purchase of the HVAC van.
Second.
Okay, Member Herrera made a motion to revise the agenda item, and Member Whitcomb seconded to revise the item for our consent agenda item. Now, do we need further discussion in relation to that? Any further discussion?
No, I just want to say thank you, Joanne. You did exactly what was asked of you, so.
Yeah. And then just to reiterate, everybody's point here is, we can find it local, that would be great.
Yeah,
And if we can't,
that'd be great.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just have to continue to look for the vehicle.
And
Okay.
maybe this one's still available.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mrs. Hope.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mr. Bucher.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye. Motion passed 6-0. Do I have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda item number 15, snow removal invitation to bid as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Hauk seconded the motion to approve consent agenda item number 15, snow removal invitation to bid as presented. Discussion?
My question is the same question it always is. They're going to provide what limits of insurance, what are this, I mean, was that in, I didn't see in the bid specs, I didn't see anything about, again, unless I missed it, that's entirely possible. What are the limits of liability we're requiring? Again, their liability is their liability. I'm thinking more about property damage limits, right? They're going to come here and be, plowing our lots and doing these sorts of things. And it would matter to me that we have an idea of, how protected they are from a property damage limit. Is it an aggregate? Is it a per vehicle? I'm assuming they'll be at more than one location at a time. Are they going to provide a certificate of insurance for each building? Are they going to provide it to the district and name each building? Oh, okay, here, we got a certificate of insurance. Sorry, I missed it. Was it in the closed session ones? Okay, hang on.
Yes.
Automobile liability.
Yep, everyone who bid submitted their certificate of insurance.
So I see the liability limits, but I don't see Their work comp. And they, so this is, they don't have umbrella protection over the, again, I don't see the greatest extent of the limits being a concern from a liability perspective, unless we have, God forbid, people in the lot during the time that they're plowing. I'm more concerned about their property damage limits. And, you know,
They have $1 million of insurance on all the vehicles using the property. And we can also circle back.
So, I'm sorry, say that again, Sean?
They have to have $1 million insurance on all vehicles used on school property.
For liability or property damage?
No, for liability and for under vehicles. And we'll circle back on their.
Yeah, I would just want to have us have some information about the limit of property damage that we can be protected against. God forbid, you know, the truck goes, you know, the plow comes off, they plow too far, we take up, you know, concrete or cement, or there's a car parked and they hit it. You know, some of our buildings are closer to, you know, the street. We, you know, clip a corner of a building, I mean, you know, not to the parking lot. I would just want to be sure that they have adequate property damage.
But wouldn't that be covered under their, isn't that a liability to them? to
It
begin
isn't,
with?
yeah. Liability is bodily injury. So property damage is going to be just that, property damage. So, I mean, I'm going to vote yes, hoping, I hate to say hoping, but I'm going to assume that these are commercially insured individuals who have commercial insurance, who are, but I would like for, in some way, shape, or form, to it to be reported back to us that, you know, they have, you know, because I've seen it. I work in insurance every day. I've seen people who will carry $1 million for liability and $100,000 for property damage. You take out the corner of a building, or you hit three, you know, you take up, you're plowed too deep and we're pulling up asphalt, you know, that can go quick. So I'm not saying that that's what they have, but I'm saying, you know, I would just like to have that be reported back through board update or something.
Yeah, we can do that.
If possible.
Well, we can absolutely do that.
Great. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Haut.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye, motion passed 6-0. Next, we'll have our roll call action items. Do I have a motion and a second to approve the proclamation for American Education Week, November 13th through the 17th, 2023, as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Zickert seconded the motion to approve the American Education Week, November 13th through the 17th, 2023, as presented. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mrs. Haut.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye, motion passed 6-0. Do I have a motion to approve the Voco Vision Virtual School Psychologist as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Member Herrera made a motion and Member Hauk seconded the motion to approve the Voco Vision Virtual School Psychologist as presented. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Herrera.
Aye.
Mrs. Haut.
Aye.
Mr. Booker.
Aye.
Mr. Zickert.
Aye.
Mrs. Whitcomb.
Aye.
Mrs. Brenner.
Aye, motion passed 6-0. The following items have been added for discussion or will be coming up for further review and/or possible action in the future. Background information has been provided, and the board may ask questions and/or request clarification at this time. The first is proposed high school course catalog changes for 2024-2025. Any discussion or highlights from members of district office?
So this is the course proposals, changes for this coming school year. As you can see in the document, there's just some edits to the wording that's in the course guide. There are some modifications to 4 courses, the addition of 3, and then removal of 1 course that's being recommended. This all went through a process that we've been using for several years now, where teachers are able to make recommendations, provide feedback, both about recommendations that come from their high school as well as the high school across town. And then it was brought to the Ed Services Committee. And so we'll get your feedback tonight, and if we need to make any adjustments, we'll do so, bring revised proposal to the November meeting, and then bring it to a vote for you in the November board meeting.
Questions for Dr. Carson? Go ahead.
No, I just had I know that it's been a contentious issue for years, even before my time on the board, on English Accelerated 11, and it isn't just a class to me, it's the process. We continually say we want our kids to be personalized learning, we want to take control of their education, so on and so forth. Yet, up until this year, we told them, yeah, but we know better than you. So we want to be able to pick when it's good for us, but we don't want them to pick when we don't want them to pick. So we've had that dilemma for years. Now, I know this year was the first year that there was nobody in either high school selected English Accelerated 11. I do understand that. In the past, there used to be a time period when a class had to run dormant for so many years, not just one, but more than one, before you officially removed it from the course catalog. To my knowledge, this is the first time we've done it after 1 year ever in my time at Belvedere. Before that, I have no idea. So I think probably it's been many years before that, but I don't know that for a fact either. I just think that as we push some of these classes, and my kids took them, so I know how hard they are because my kids actually took them, both of them. And some of these accelerated classes were really difficult. Now, were they as difficult as an AP class? That's a matter of opinion. Some may have been, some may not have been. But I think the fact that we say that kids in AP classes, just because they get a 1 and a 2, is better than not taking one at all, I would argue compared to what? You're right. It's better to get a 1 or a 2 and not take that English class at all. But compared to Accelerated English 11 or Accelerated something else, are you better off in that AP class than that? That's a highly debatable subject. And I think we need to look at, and I know I get to be a broken record on this, is for the kids that take AP classes, all the kids that sign up for them, at least in the past, and I bet it's pretty close now, is less than half even take the test. So out of all those kids in those classes, half of them don't even take the test, even though we pay for it. Out of that, we have gotten a higher percentage of people getting 3s or better, which I think is admirable. I think we've really done a pretty good job, or better job on that. We can do better, obviously. I think we've done a pretty good job on that. But I think what we really need to look at is, for the kids that get a substantive benefit out of those classes, which is essentially a 3 or better, how many kids get that who actually take the class? What's the percentage of kids that sit in that class all year long versus the kids that actually get a 3 or better, not the percentage of kids who actually take the test? Because it's a big difference maker. So I'm not going to fight it anymore. Like I said, it's a battle I did for years, and sometimes you got to know when to give up. So that's all I had on that.
Any further discussion or questions for Dr. Carson?
Dr. Carson, I know, like Matt just said, 1 year it hasn't ran at, was it BHS? I don't remember. But was it longer at the other school?
So this was the first year it didn't run at North. It has run at BHS for several years.
Okay.
No, North had it.
And quite frankly, in fairness, sometimes it depended on the teacher. Norse, I think I'm not speaking out of reality, is that one of the reasons North lasted so long, in my opinion, was the quality of the teacher. The teacher that was teaching Accelerated English 11 there was really well thought of by the kids, and they think they got a pretty good education out of it. So that was why at the time, and then I don't know that teacher teaches it anymore or not, but I think that's why it lasted as long as it did. And I get the push to AP. It's not that I'm against taking AP classes, because I'm not. I just think that if we want to really advocate for kids taking control of their own education, let's let them make the choice then. Let's not make it for them when it's convenient for us to do that to the end we want to see. That's my only argument.
Any further discussion? All right, the next meeting agenda item, board meeting etiquette, was brought up for some discussion through the board. I've had a few correspondence with different board members that they would like to discuss this in relation to our presentation at open meetings. So I'm going to open discussion to the board at this time in relation to the matter, any concerns that previously were articulated.
I guess I'd probably like to wait to have a discussion about, well, I mean, and again, we're almost always all here, but, I have received some calls from people who felt as though there was calls, text messages, people who've, spoken to me, that there's some relatively regular, cell phone use during meetings, and are we really listening, and what are we doing, and, and there are those who are on their cell phone, and I think additionally, not everybody who speaks in public comment feels as though, the board is paying attention to what they're saying. I understand we don't speak back, but that's an observation I had by 3 separate individuals after the last meeting.
Any further discussion?
I mean, I just think we have to make an effort to do better. I mean, we represent ourselves to the public. The public doesn't want to see us be dysfunctional by any stretch of the imagination.
Yep.
I think how we act, we should be modeling for the younger generation, because we don't want them to see us behave in ways that we would be not happy with the way they behave. So I think it's incumbent on us to try and find a way to make that happen. But I think the only way, in my opinion, the only way it's going to happen is if we have a collective effort to do it. We can't, when things happen, we can't overlook them and shake our head. And we have to, if it's going to change, you have to be willing to say something when it happens or after it happens or whatever, or it's never going to change.
I do agree about, we reflect the public body, we're all elected officials. I do agree about representing to our students the kind of behavior we want from them. I do agree with Matt that everybody could do better. This isn't an isolated incident. I've seen it, in recorded meetings of people being on their phones, multiple board members, not just a specific board member. So I do agree with Matt saying we could do better. And I think part of it is too, just like Matt said, like if we have an issue, I think we need to get better of not making it a public forum topic all the time. Yes, there's going to be times when we disagree publicly, but having enough decency and dignity that like if I'm upset with Tom, I'm going to call him about a topic and talk to him outside of the meeting and have an open dialogue, because that's how we as professionals should interact, in my opinion. So I think that's something I feel like we could do better in relation to as well. I'm not upset with you, I just gave that as an example.
Expect a phone call.
It was really funny. I snorted.
Like, what did I do?
Yeah. Any further discussion? Is this something we need to bring back, Lisa, you feel like, or?
I'm not gonna say anything else.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, at this time, I'd like to turn the meeting, excuse me, we have upcoming contract renewals and reports that are provided for your reference. Any questions for Dr. Shug in relation to those? All right, at this time, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Dr. Shug for the administrative reports.
All right, I just have a very brief superintendent's comments section for you. We have some important weeks this week. Principal Appreciation Week is this week, October 16th to the 20th. So this is a great week to appreciate your principals. Feel free to reach out to them, send them a card, give them a call. They have certainly challenging jobs every single day of the year, and I think we have some of the very best principals here in the Belvedere School District. So please take advantage of this opportunity to say thank you. As we already voted on the proclamation, American Education Week is upcoming on November 13th to the 17th. This is another great opportunity to reach out to educators here in the district to thank them for their work. This is specific to recognize public school educators across the country, and a great time to say thank you to some of the wonderful educators we have here in Belvedere. In addition to that, it has been Hispanic Heritage Month. All of our schools have engaged in various celebrations, but again, Washington had a very well-attended Hispanic Heritage Night with over 300 individuals attending. It was absolutely, it has traditionally been and continues to be a tremendous event. And I would encourage you to put that on your calendar for the future if you have not in the past. Then we had our play. We had the opportunity here at the board meeting to see a sample of what was going on out there in terms of this particular play. And that did take place this last weekend with tremendous success. We are very fortunate to have such great talent in our district. We also did have homecoming weeks. There were parades and dances and football games, as you heard in the student reports. We've had fun runs across the district, just so many wonderful activities here in this past month. And last year, we were really excited about the return to field trips and the return to more normal. We continue to see that week upon week upon week. More field trips, more activities, more opportunities for our students to engage in the ways that we were more accustomed to having that take place. So we are really excited to continue to see that move forward. And those are my comments, unless anybody has any questions or any feedback. It's been a great start to the year, it really has. And in terms of administrative reports, you can see what we have listed there. Any questions or comments on any of those items? All right, that's all I've got for you then.
And do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second. Member Herrera made a motion and Member Houck seconded the motion to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:16.
Board members, please don't leave until you sign the American Education Proclamation, please, because those go out to all the schools.
And then we have to sign our.
I think I was there.
In here? You did?